I'm doing that thing where I look over there. There's no camera.
Yeah, but I wasn't allowed to mention that earlier. But yeah,
yeah, you got to go at me about that. And I'm doing
I don't
it.
go at you. I just said that's what you do, and I've not got a problem with it.
Felt like
Though I would like to be, when we sat here for 8 hours, I'd like to be acknowledged once.
Who said that? Who said that?
This little voice in your.
Yeah,
just past the interview. I'm angry now.
Well, no.
Hello and welcome back to the episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us once again for the hour or more of golf equipment chat. My name is Dan and I'm joined by my colleague, friend, occasional lover, Joe Ferguson.
Speaking of occasional lover, you told me at lunch you had a girl mate that fancied me. Who's that? What's her name?
What's her surname?
No, her name.
Olivia.
All right, Olivia.
She doesn't watch. She sees the clips and she was like, yeah, he's a bit of all right. And I'm like,
what's happening, girl? You right?
He needed that. Anyway, we digress completely. Welcome back. Jam-packed show for you today. New Ping G470 irons. We're going to put them up against the best game improvement irons that have come out this year, 3DPX. We'll see if, I guess, the jump in price of 3DPX can be mitigated somewhat by Ping's super game improvement iron, Joe. It's a real whopper, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a big girl with a big soul.
Oh, nice.
Which is always nice. But yeah, I mean, traditionally, G7, the G range from Ping, those irons are your go-to. If you've got someone whose strike is a bit variable across the face, up and down, left and right, you're in a really good spot generally with that G series. So it'd be interesting. I've already jumped the gun and dubbed the greatest iron of the year in 3DPX. So it'll be interesting.
Yes, has he jumped the gun, folks? Stick around.
If I have
Stick around to find out, for goodness sake. What else have we got? Loads of you asked the pods because we've got a bit more time this week, I say, but they're going to be long anyway. And then Andrew Huang, tour rep from Fujikura, sat down with Joe Ferguson, sat to my left here, to chat all things shaft. And it's one of them. Stick around for this one because it was a good one for you to get all the questions that bubble up in your little brain about why this and why that around shafts. And there's loads of them.
Yeah, someone that tests a lot of shafts is someone that's fitted a lot of people. And, when you first start fitting, you're taking a lot of what the manufacturers say on their spec sheets as gospel. All right, go on, I need this guy to raise launch here, right? Okay, well, I've got to get in like the Ventus Red profile or something with a softer tip, something that's higher launching, etc., etc. As you'll hear, and we've spoken about the Tom McKibben phenomenon of things working in totally opposite ways than what they should for certain player types, that can be the same with torque. There's lots of stuff to get into, and it was really nice for me to actually take my theories, run them by someone who's got an Enzo machine, who works with tour players, who fits on a regular basis, and say, yeah, you're right, Joe, or no,
you're wrong, Joe.
You're wrong, Joe. I didn't like that bit. I've cut that bit. So yeah, no, we should be all set.
Lovely. Well, that's coming up at the end. Do stick around for that. But first, Joe, in honour of our sponsor this week, Golf Clubs for Cash, I've got a little question for you.
Go on.
You've done a lot of shopping in the second-hand market. What's the best second-hand club that you've ever purchased, and why? Is there one that stands out for you?
I reckon there's a handful, actually. So my love for the Callaway Apex UWs. I did a post actually a while ago on my socials, which you'll have probably seen, obviously, because I'm an influencer.
My socials.
Where I had my 17 degree for ages, and then I wanted something a little bit softer. And from Golf Clubs for Cash, I actually purchased an Apex UW 21 degree, which was just in immaculate condition. I can't remember what shaft it had in it because I wasn't bothered, because I was going to go straight into the Ventus. But yeah, incredibly, I think I got it within 24 hours of putting the order in there. It was in immaculate condition, ready to rumble, and that's been a mainstay in my bag. So that'd be one of them. I'd go back a few years actually. Got a TaylorMade M2 2017 driver, 8.5 degrees. Again, from Golf Clubs to Cash, along with the M2 Tour fairway wood of that region. And I had that in the bag right up until when I first started at Golf Monthly, actually.
Was that, because actually that's a good question. What were you playing before you then got given everything in the world to test? I know you were a bit of a TaylorMade boy.
I think my last Whitby would have been that driver, the M2 2017 TaylorMade driver, the M2 Tour fairway wood, Ventus Red in that. And I think I had a Fujikura Motore F1 in the driver. And then I think I had a set of Titleist T100S irons.
I remember them, yeah.
So they were basically the T100, but just with a couple of degrees less loft, because I'm a high spinner of the ball. Vokey wedges and the old toe up putter. I think that would have been my last Whitby.
Fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost train of thought.
Golf Club for Cash, Dan.
yeah, sorry, that
Sponsor
was it.
of today's episode, please.
Any more?
No, I think that'd be my top 3 from memory.
I had a bit of fun on Golf Clubs of Cash in the new year because I got my RBZ3, which could enter the bag this year once you spec me out for some video we're doing later in the year. And for those who followed this, the Odyssey 2 ball, the original White Hot, I've chopped it down to 33 inches and I put a new Golf Pride Zero Taper putter grip on it.
Good.
That was £60 on Golf Clubs of Cash. It's like a lot for a 25-year-old club, but it's lovely. Mint condition. The face ridiculous. But that RBZ I got for 30 quid.
That was one of the rare RBZs.
And that was in good nick.
Well, from that era that you don't see with an idiot mark on the top with a sky mark because they, I mean, now it's obviously covered in them, it's littered with them since it's got to Solihull. But didn't you have a disaster though? Like it's not all roses on the second-hand market. Didn't you tell me about some Scotty Cameron you bought? Or no, for a testing day. When you bought a putter, was it Cleveland putter or something?
I panicked because I couldn't putt and we had a group golf monthly day. I didn't want like a complete helmet, more so than normal. And I went on eBay. That was the problem. I went on eBay and bought a Cleveland Huntington Soft milled.
The Huntington Soft, yeah?
The Huntington
Were
Soft.
Were they out of the Huntington firms? Or?
I wanted a Huntington Hard, but I could only get the Soft. And that, every now and again you can get it wrong in the second-hand market, but that's fine.
Well, even if you do with Golf Clubs of Cash, don't you get your free sort of 7-day return, no quibble? You can try, and if you have made a mistake,
for me, and I'll go fine. Yeah. Well, we'll have it back then, and we'll sell it to somebody else. So, Golf Clubs of Cash is Europe's leading retailer of great value pre-owned golf equipment, Joe, with over 50,000 items in stock and 60,000 five-star Trustpilot reviews. You'll find what you need at Golf Clubs of Cash for value, choice, and quality. Visit golfclubsofcash.co.uk, download the app or visit them in store in Edinburgh, Warrington, and now Milton Keynes and Southampton.
Producer Johnny's just decided to come on the show.
On set there.
He's just coming straight in there.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
It was fun.
He just wants to be on camera, doesn't he? Look at him. He's coming in his nice jumper today.
He has, yeah. He wants to show it off, doesn't he?
Let me do that one more time. Golfclubsforcash.co.uk on their app, or they've now got stores in Edinburgh, Warrington, Milton Keynes, and Southampton. And if you look at the United Kingdom face on, which I often do, if you just work your way down, you've now got Edinburgh, Warrington, MK, Southampton. That's all 4 quadrants, I believe.
Vertically, things are covered beautifully there.
Horizontally, listen, they'll work on that. Hey. But vertically, they are absolutely locked in.
We had a beer or
too many
16, I think, in your case, with
too many beers
with Dean from Golf Clubs of Cash out in Orlando. That was a fun time, and Dean won't remember, but I think he promised that if anyone's got any questions whatsoever about anything to do with Golf Clubs of Cash, we'll pop his personal email and phone number in the description below. Well done, Dean. Top service.
That was after 10 of those double pints they were doing at one of these bars in Orlando.
Like
that was good. It was a double.
Beer,
it was the FA
please.
Cup of beer. Correct. It was fantastic. So thank you to Golf Clubs of Cash for sponsoring this week's episode, and let us know if you've got any second-hand club adventures you've had. Good, bad, ugly. We want to hear it all here at Kickpoint the Golf Gear Show. Right, I saw this on social media, Joe, before we get into Tested this week, and I thought I'd pose this question to you and to the fair listener and viewer. So here's the scenario. You got a hole of putt, right? But there's some caveats here.
Okay.
For every foot you go back from the hole, your prize money for holding this putt goes up £100,000.
Okay.
A lot of money, or dollars, or whatever your local currency is, adjusted. Australian dollars would be a couple 100,000. That's by the by. 1 foot, 100. Joe's yawning. 1 putt, 1 foot, $100,000 pounds.
That's your minimum.
Minimum.
You can't start at 6 inches and take 50k.
No.
Okay.
Foot, 100 grand.
Yep.
2 foot, 200 grand, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
If you hold the putt from whatever footage you choose, you win the money. You miss the putt, you're never allowed to play golf ever again. And there's some sort of police system I put in place to my great expense in my own pocket to stop you from playing golf ever again. How far back would you go to guarantee as much money as you can, but not miss the putt?
I need some more info.
Straight putt.
Straight? What are the greens like? Is it artificial?
10,
Is it
10 on a real green? Straight putt on 10 stimp grass.
on a real green?
Normal sized hole.
I was on 2 foot for ages.
Were you Really? Because 200 grams is healthy.
Yeah, but
obviously.
2 feet, 2 foot's still missable when you're shaking and because there's going to be a build up to this, isn't there? You're going to be
an
thinking
audience.
About it. There'll be a few people watching.
Interviews beforehand.
We've seen people miss putts short than that for a major championship.
Gosh, yeah.
Then I thought, how much golf do I actually play now anyway?
Okay, you can't talk about golf or work in golf either.
Oh, okay.
So you'd be fired.
Okay.
That doesn't apply to you listening and watching.
No, fine. I still think at 3 feet, you're still in that 90%.
Looks like
less than that.
Oh,
that's probably 2.5. Get a bit more. I reckon that's 3 feet. Yeah, great.
Sorry for those listening.
Great for the audios.
So if you're listening, imagine my hands that are 3 feet apart.
Yeah, that's probably a really good way of envisaging that. Well done, Dan. So. Yeah, I think from PGA Tour statistics, which I think would be fair here, I'm a decent putter. I would be
you said 2.
Thinking about it at 3 still. But I think I'd risk that for the extra 100k, so I think I'd be 3 feet. Where do you net out?
I netted out at, I quite like playing cricket. So losing golf wouldn't be the end of the world
20
for
foot.
me. 20 foot. So I went to 5 because £500,000 sounds quite nice to me. 5 feet, it's straight on 10 green.
But I don't think you're thinking this game through. Do you not think when that inevitably slips by the right because you've had a bit of a twitch, you just look and go,
what have I done?
400 grand's nice, isn't it? I could have been a foot closer.
100 grand for a foot.
Yeah, just tap it and move on. Take your 100k.
There we go.
5's bold. I'm sorry.
I'm a bold man, Joe.
Tell us in the comments down below, how bold are you? What would you get? And I guess it's partially to do with A, how good you are at golf. B, how rich you are.
Yeah, or how much you care about golf.
Yeah.
You might have just started and you can go, you know what, actually.
What's Rhea doing now? Rhea's up and about.
They all want to get on camera. Hey, lad, do you want to sit down here and do this for us?
Worms?
Yeah. They got worms. Let us know what you would do. Okay then, Joe, tested this week.
Yes.
We got another new ping iron that we did. We did i540 2 weeks ago. We've now got G740, which is, as Ben Cadu of Le Journal de Golf said,
Ben
Cadu, called a super game improvement. And then the word for iron in French.
I think I had a magnifique in there as well.
C'est magnifique.
Yeah, bonjour.
Ping.
Bonjour, Rodney.
Bonjour, indeed. It is a super game improvement iron, though. This, like,
well, do you want to get them out? I brought them.
Absolutely.
So get me the 3DP X, please, from Cobra Dan, and the G740, and we'll compare them. So, as I sort of said in the intro, G740 has been Dan's just guffawing at the sole width at the moment. G740 or the G series from Ping has been the kind of the gold standard of that super game improvement mark for quite some time here. I got carried away early doors in the season with the whole 3D printing revolution from Cobra. The 3DP X has brought something to the market that I've just never seen. Arguably, to look at, you'd go, that's not super game improvement. That could be a mid-handicap iron.
Tour iron.
Could even be a tour iron. It certainly wouldn't put it down as game improvement, but it is in terms of its size and in terms of its overall setup. But the performance of that, even in the game improvement market, I think puts it, as I've said about all those Cobra 3DP irons, they all perform a level above in forgiveness from what they're actually marketed at. So the blade is a blade, but it performs at a pretty serious cavity back level of forgiveness, and so on and so forth.
I'm sorry. I'm going to hold this to the camera and do my best for the listener here. How are we comparing? And this is a. Everything okay, guys?
Johnny's up
it's
again.
Carnage behind the camera today. I'm looking at the sole width of the 3DPX and the G740 here. For those watching, you can see that.
You ever heard of B-roll down? We can just B-roll that afterwards.
I can't be bothered.
Oh, fair enough.
How are we comparing these two? I'm saying there are 2 3DPX soles to 1 G740 sole. That is how amazing the Cobra is. But how are we even putting these things side by side?
We just are.
Okay.
Simply because different irons in different categories have different soles all the time. So like the Tour VT sole from Srixon is a very different sole to the P7CB sole from TaylorMade, but they sit in the same category. While the width of the sole might be the same, the geometry and topography and all of that kind of stuff is completely...
Because the blade length is quite similar.
It's completely different. Yeah, blade length is pretty similar. And what they're designed to do and the specific players they're designed to work for that they are technically in the same category, but it just shows you how much play there is within certain categories on certain elements of design to produce some different stuff.
It's fascinating. Have you seen that plane that's a beluga? It's got a beluga head.
Yes.
That is what the G740 looks like from that angle. I'll put a picture up of the beluga plane.
Well, should we just get straight into it then with shelf appeal? Where do you go, Dan?
Well, I need to ask you a few questions first.
Go on.
Because what handicap are these aimed at? I'm talking G740 here because, and actually, this is probably quite a thick question, but one I just genuinely have. How can a sole that big, why is that helping you? Why would that help somebody? Because that's more, to me, more surface area to get stuck in the ground or get in the way. But as we know, thicker soles are just aimed at higher handicappers. Why?
Well,
Joe?
essentially, it's all to do with like effective bounce. We talk about, bounce angles being the difference between the back edge and the leading edge. You can create I guess what I see with like a G sole, for example, this one in particular, you can have what would essentially be a low bounce reading number, which allows the leading edge to sit quite flat to the ground so you can get the leading edge under the ball to help the ball get up in the air. But when you have this masses of sole width, you've got a bit of play there. This acts like a rudder. So if you do then hit it a little bit fat, you're going to get some serious help with getting the ball to still exit the turf. You're not going to get this for a lot of high handicap players who might just drill down on the ball and get really steep and choppy with it. This is a preventative measure in my eyes to stop this club head digging too much into the ground. You'll see it's got a bit of trailing edge relief there as well.
That, yeah.
So it's not a totally flat wide sole. So they've actually given that some serious thought. I guess if you just think about it like a rudder or some skis or something that help you stop digging into turf. And you see it with blades, really narrow, tight little soles. When you do get a little bit steep, there's a little bit less forgiveness in that turf interaction kind of thing. And there's also just the whole element when you make this sole wider, and that's a design element of what they've done here with G740. You're actually moving mass around. So we've got more mass low here because it takes material to create that wider sole. So it's not necessarily just a turf interaction thing. It can be a facilitator of dragging mass to where you want it to help with launch. So
good answer.
I mean, for me, like, do I love it? Would it be great for me? No, but there'll be a certain demographic of player that looks at that and goes, I like the fact that that's big, fat, and wide, and that's gonna give me some peace of mind to play. And they might look at the same player might look at the 3DPX there and think a little bit narrow. That is that going to give me the margin for error?
100%.
But even though that's got some decent width to it, but like you say, relatively speaking, they're chalk and cheese. I think shelf appeal wise, so like what we've done here again is what we did with one of our other head-to-heads, the i540 versus P790, I think it was, where I've just got 8 categories. I'm just going to pick a winner in each and explain a little bit why to get to a conclusion. How about that?
And for those who listened 2 weeks ago, will we have another Newcastle Arsenal 4-4 or will we have another result? And I will try and pull a football analogy out from that result. What's the final
score? Let me have a little look ahead. Well, we changed halfway through last time.
Exactly.
You changed the parameters.
Hey,
there is a winner.
It's a Bobby Dazzler of a game. Settle in.
Give me your thoughts on shelf appeal then. So away from the sole, just give me you look at those on the shelf in the retail shop. What are you staring at?
Again, night and day with the rear. This in the bag look from the Cobra is 10 times better. This lattice structure, by the way, is all for show. Which I'm completely happy with. It's fine because it's showing you what's going on inside, and it's actually very, very pretty. And you don't see as much of a cavity as you do in the ping. However, to your point, this is to the mind of a 7 handicap golfer who likes a sleeker club.
Yeah.
But I have to take that out of this because every golfer is different and just say the Cobra.
I'm with you. Knowing what I know about the levels of performance from the Cobra as well, the fact that it's slightly more refined and possibly more intimidating to the player that wants a huge amount of mass, who, like you say, might look at that G740 and go, that'll do me, thanks, big chunk, I'll chuck that inside the ball. Massive cavity, load of perimeter weight in, off we go. I just think objectively that's just a nicer item.
It's a nicer looking item. Yeah.
So I've gone Cobra there, and I just think that's as good as I've ever seen in this category, honestly.
And we thought the Elite from last year was going to be something that was hard to beat, but no, it's been beaten straight away.
It has for me. In behind the ball, so we're 1-0 Cobra. Profile in behind the ball. I've gone Cobra again. It's 2-0, just a touch neater. While there's still plenty of blade length that gives you, if you want to extend that for yourself, Daniel, there's plenty of blade length to still let you know you've got a bit of
thick
meat
top
to
line
work
really
with.
with these. But I don't want people to get scared of the 3DPX because there's actually quite a lot of real estate there.
Yeah, there's plenty of blade length, plenty of thick top line. There's enough to be going on with. And as I said, when we get to performance, and if you've not heard me talk about these before, across the face, just quite extraordinary. What I don't love about the ping in behind the ball, there's two things that sort of scuppered this for me. It could be controversial, but I'm not sure I love having a number on the face.
It's not controversial.
It feels a bit patronising to the higher handicap player, and I get it because I see it in pro-ams all the time when I see people go in the rough and they pull out a club, put it behind the ball, they're ready to swipe, and then they just pick up the club and go, "Yep, 7." They've got to check which club they've got in their hand. Well, you don't have to do that with theirs. It's stamped on the face, but still feels a bit patronising. They don't do it in any of their other irons, so why would you do that? It's like that Callaway Chevron where they don't put it on the tour models or anything like that, and then they put it on for the simpletons and go, "Yeah, this way, guys, that's it." So I don't love that.
No,
and then
I'm in agreement.
There's the back edge on the longer irons when you see the 4 and the 5.
What am I in this? Oh, I should
6.
I should know them.
It's right there, mate. Oh, was it not in left-handed for you? Didn't need to turn it around.
9.
So because of the width of that sole and dragging mass down,
you can see at bottom
from 7.6 up,
6.7.
6.7, you can see a lot of that back edge sticking out the back, which is something I hate on utility irons in particular. But when it starts getting into actual irons, it's not a look I like. But again, totally subjective. There could be people that go, "I love seeing more of the head because I know there's a big chunk of metal behind the ball." Someone like Phil Price, for those who ever watched the Ryder Cup in 2002 when Welshman Phil Price beat Phil Mickelson. I used to speak to Phil a lot because he was at Celtic Manor, and he just used to say, "I just like to imagine myself on the last hole of a tournament when I've got 200 yards over water. What do I want to see? A little blade or a big chunk of metal?" And he wanted to see a big chunk of metal. So
fine. And that was a lovely Welsh lilt.
Thank you very much. So yeah, 2-0 Cobra. Feel.
Yes, please.
Same gag as last time. Very good, Dan. It's 3-0.
Ooh,
I've gone Cobra.
It had to be with the 3D printed technology, right?
While this really impressed me. The G740, I put it alongside, because I was testing at the same time as the i540, which I said to you last time, I found a little bit firm. And all firmer than I expected relative to the P790. This was a lot softer than that. Than the i540, and the Perflex. Is Pure Flex or Perflex? I don't know how they say it actually.
I think it's pure without an E.
Pure Flex.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. The sort of vibration dampening badge that goes in the back does a really good job because it feels soft. It feels subdued. There's no sense of harshness to it. It's a really good feeling iron, but it can't beat
what's going on with that 3D printed structure.
Competing in terms of feel with that 3D structure. Across the face, you can hit it off the bit where there's no grooves. You can hit it, thin it. You can top edge it where you normally get that clunky bit of vibration, and it just feels like you've middled it pretty much from anywhere on the face. And I don't know how you compete with that. I've had some more revelations on the 3DP world as I was bending my MBs.
Yeah,
because they didn't quite come as upright as I wanted, and I like an upright golf club, so I got them in the vise and started to bend them. They're a tough bend, Dan.
Why would that be?
Because obviously normally forged cast irons are traditionally like a ping, are very tough to bend, hence why they put this little notch in here. That's part of weakens that structure to allow loft and lie adjustments a little bit easier, because cast heads tend to be firmer and more difficult to move. Forged heads, softer steel, the treatment where they've been pounded into shape and whatever. They're always a nice, softer, just an easy bend.
Yeah.
The structure of the way the 3D irons have been put together with the layering up that, I didn't know what that would be like. And based on the feel of the face, I was like, I'll just breathe on this and this will move. No, really structurally very firm and completely at a complete disparity with the feel you get through your hands when you strike it. Incredible.
And you spoke about this through the whole 3D printed range, is they feel like this and look like that, but actually the way they're constructed, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. Again, just the technology behind that's all really, really
Still
interesting.
Extraordinary. Right, so that's 3-0 Cobra right now. Ball speed. Bing.
As a ping should and would.
Correct. So, I mean, there is a little caveat here in the 7-iron loft of the Cobra. 7-iron loft of the ping rather is 28 degrees. The Cobra's at 29.
Okay.
So it's got a loft head start to give it some ball speed. But it was, I didn't bend these ones. I met in the middle with the last ones. Didn't have time to change these. So I had to keep that 1 degree discrepancy between them. But I guess it's factory settings, so it's still a decent comparison. But it's about 2 miles per hour between the two. I was quicker off the ping.
Yeah.
So that's back in the game for the ping. Peak height. Bing.
Really? Even with all that
so
real estate
super
popping
low.
up there?
I think
the CG is so low.
Because the CG is so low. The launch was considerably higher. From a spin point of view, you'll see in a minute, spoiler alert, Cobra had more spin because when you move CG that low, you're tending to impact above the CG, which gets it up in the air quick, but doesn't tend to impart more spin. It's more that top spin stuff. So peak height on the ping, it wasn't significant, but it was 6 to 10 feet, generally speaking, which changes that land angle a little bit, so long as it isn't coupled with too aggressive spin. So 3-2. Spin, I've just told you, Cobra, about 300 revs per more on average for me, and I think that's a CG location thing. While the CG is obviously still low in the 3DPX, I think it's been taken to the extreme on this G740, so probably just impacting a little bit closer to the CG rather than massively above it than with the ping.
Makes sense.
I would suggest that's where that's come from, but again, you've got to factor in who's going to be using these irons. Slower swing speed players don't tend to impart much spin anyway, so it's almost like some people would go, well, that's really important, then you need to give them that extra revs. Other people would go, it doesn't matter at that stage. When the spin's so low, you've just got to build in launch.
And exactly. They're not swinging it at your speeds. They're probably not going to create 300 revs to them. With whatever swing they put on either of these clubs, they're probably going to deliver the same amount of spin.
60 revs in it or something like that. Right. So I'd say the peak height is probably for me there the more pertinent parameter to take a look at. So we are at 4-2, I believe.
We are.
Carry. Ping. Cobra. My 6-iron that was testing out there, 200 yards I was getting out of that, just on the button, and the ping was a whopping 201. So
that's a half point then, surely.
Snuck it. Depends where you want to go with that.
I'd like to be consistent with where we did it last time, Joe.
Okay, fine.
Is that okay?
Fine, yeah.
If I create a 4-4 draw again?
No, you've gone quite the opposite way.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah,
so it was 4-2, so that's now 4.5, 2.5. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, just on that, just nothing in it. Like very similar in terms of what they're outputting, in terms of ball speeds, in terms of just general, the performance parameters were pretty tight, but we're having to differentiate here.
Absolutely, that's our job.
Forgiveness, it's just a flat draw. I couldn't separate them. If I was pushed, the circles, when I was overlaying them over one another, because I said before, just trying to, really difficult one to quantify, but when we overlay 30 shots on top of each other in terms of dispersion circles, they were pretty tight. But if I was pushed and you had to make a VAR decision, you'd probably say
on-field decision.
The on-field decision would be backed up, and the ping circle was just a squeak tighter.
Yeah.
But the feel retention of the Cobra, it's just obnoxiously good. It's like I said, from wherever you still know where you've hit it off the fade. You get away with it from the ping. You get the results downfield, but you can still feel a bit more. I've towed that, I've thinned it, blah, blah, blah. The Cobra, again, similar results downfield, but the process of getting there through your hands, you wouldn't know. It's just the tightness of feel between a centered flush and just a high toe or a low heel, just extraordinary. So I think 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and I think it nets out pretty much in terms of equal in terms of the circles versus the feel that you retain from that. So I've gone draw there, which I think puts us at 5-3 to the Cobra, and that was the last
parameter.
The last parameter there. But interestingly, about both of those sort of head-to-heads we've done involving the ping irons, both excelled in the functionality part as normal. So there was, and I think that's almost what we've seen for a number of years from ping, is that not everyone loves they're not big into flashy, sleek looks. They're into pure functionality, producing engineered equipment that does the best job possible. And as soon as you get away from the less quantifiable parameters, when we've been talking about
Looks,
profile, shelf appeal, feel, like that's not their bag. Their bag is to make downfield results as good as possible.
And if we'd taken both the looks categories you've done, which are 2 separate categories, and made them one, and just gave the Cobra that category as overall looks, we'd have a draw on our hands.
Yeah, correct.
And I think when we did this on a couple of other head-to-heads, the looks categories,
I think we wouldn't. We'd still have 4-3, wouldn't we? You take a point off, basically.
You take a point off. What is it at the minute?
5-3.
Yeah, but you add a point to Ping.
Why would you add a point?
Because I've taken it off Cobra and given it to Ping. No, I haven't. Have I?
No, you haven't. You've lost the plot. It'd still be a slight defeat, but yeah, if you
I think we overweight looks in some of our heads.
But I think you have to nowadays. I've been through this in my head a number of times, and quite honestly, the performance differences are. I'll pop the data tables up, and you can have a look. The performance differences, they're there, but they're so negligible that you're not actually going to make any difference to your score between a lot of these performance differences. So your choice has to come down then
to looks.
What do you like the look of? What
so
do you
actually,
like the feel
you think
of?
it should be weighted more heavily because these guys are so close nowadays in all their equipment that you should be looking at looks more. Because that's the last thing you got to differentiate on that has such big, and this is the biggest differential between the two, is how they look.
Yeah,
fascinating,
100%. And I don't know that necessarily holds true throughout the whole bag, because drivers do see some more ball speed differences and discrepancies, and they spin differently. And I've been saying this for a while, like the blade category, for example. Our boss was trying to get me to do a kind of a best blades video, and can you show me the data differences and what's the best? It's like any 34 degrees 7 iron in a forged blade head, I launch within 0.3 of a degree the same and 100 revs of spin and go and hit them within 1 yard to 2 yards of one another. Everything from Tacoma to Mizuno to Miura to Titleist to Cobra 3DP MBs. Like, the performance is the same. The raw launch monitor data, because there's not much they can do with that tech. Right. You can do a bit more with CGs and MOIs with the face flexion and stuff like that in some irons, but they're all so caught up with one another. All I write about in blade reviews is profile, shelf appeal, finish, feel, because everything else is frankly the same.
And we're getting to a point with game improvement. I think the world has become more homogenized.
Yeah,
lovely. I'll say, oh, careful.
Sorry. I think Ping's now ahead. No, that one's got a big dent in it.
I'll tell you what wins the RRP battle, and that is Ping, and that is the elephant in the room.
I didn't get into that, did I?
No, but I just want to talk about it briefly. Pings are coming out at about 1,100 to 1,200 for a set. You can get one for $1,000 now already. Cobra's now double that price. So
what are you going to do? That extra £1,000 if you save it?
And I'd say if you especially went to Gainsborough with Ping, you'd have a great fitting for this, which we know the fitting matrices for Cobra's a little more limited in its.
And that's not, you're not saving 150 quid there. That's a lot of money, and that's
another set. But you get 2 sets of G740s.
You get 2 sets. You could pay your golf club membership at a lot of places.
Oh gosh, I hadn't thought of that.
You could book.
Go see your wife, for goodness sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those G740s in a retro spec with a nice light shaft in there, it could be a game changer for all you slow swing speed golfers out there. So listen, well done, Ping, and I'll mention i540 in this. They're just, I can't remember the last time, at least since I've worked in the industry, that Ping miss.
No.
They just make really good. It's not going to blow your head off or kind of take you for a wild night out on the town and leave you in a ditch afterward, but it's going to do a blooming good job for you. They just don't miss. So that's good, isn't it?
That is good, Dan. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Time for us to pod. It's our favourite part of the show. It's your favourite part of the show as well. Rhea, hit the button. Thank you.
What regional accent? Northern?
What kind of northern?
Leeds.
Leeds, Yorkshire. That's the pod. That's the pod. That's the pod. That's the pod. I'll never forget first day in pit.
On pod.
I'll never forget first day on pod. Right, we've got some of your wonderful comments and questions to run through right now. Keep these coming in. We love hearing from you. So anything down in the YouTube comments, we'll sit and read and comment on if they're interesting, of which most are. And don't forget
some are flat out mental though.
We had 2 absolute
Shout
nutters
out
last
Mick
week.
Field.
And don't forget to email us, kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com as another option, or DM us on Instagram. I'll start with some YouTube comments. Joe at Sidles, great interview with Tom Bailey, very interesting. Thanks again to him for coming on the show, owner of Avoda. P.S. Would Joe please explain why all irons don't have full face grooves? And when he said that, I thought, yeah, why don't they?
I can't explain for a second. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Know. It's just tradition. I'm sure at some point they just stopped grooves at a certain point.
Why do they stop them there? Who made that decision?
Who knows? But also that actually leans into another point I have. Where I get the bugbear on, you know how I like a very upright lie angle.
Oh, every time I meet someone new, it's the first thing I say.
You do, don't you? Yeah. And they ask about me. He's still on his lie angles. Well, if you put that out in front of you, you see the line that's created by where the grooves stop. That gives a real noticeable reference point to which way that's pitched, because that changes there, that changes there. When you go full face on the irons,
you lose that.
And it's not so important visually how that iron sits from a lie angle point of view. Hugely irrelevant to almost everyone bar me. But so that's number one. But number two, like particularly in the game improvement sector, people hit it all over the face. So Ping could take the number off that G740 face.
Yeah.
And just extend that to grooves. I can't explain that. I won't explain that. And I think down the road that's absolutely
gonna happen.
Don't know if it will. I think it should.
Well, I don't feel like I've seen full face wedges kick off yet on tour at least.
Again, I'm not entirely sure why. I watched Akshay Bhatia, a little TikToky thing with him the other day. HS TikTok. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Where he was talking about deliberately hitting a lot of his chips right out the toe to deaden the strike. And that's fantastic in terms of deadening the strike. But how much spin you're losing by hitting off this smooth part here? If you were full face grooves there, you can maybe hit that same dead shot with a little bit more spin. I can't explain it. Again, that's just one of those things in golf that we all know that I hate. That it's just like that. Mate.
It's just like that.
It's just like
well,
that.
Next time we're with a club person,
like when people used to say like, "Oh, well, you know, Hitler's just the way he is, isn't it?" It's like, well, it's bad. Let's fix it. You know, let's do something about it. If that's not how it should be, let's get on it. You know.
You know how I think in Parliament every single everything's ever said in Parliament is recorded and then indexed, and then you can search by word things that have been said in Parliament. So, for example, TikTok is probably said in Parliament nowadays. It's funny, isn't it? Because you wouldn't have seen that in 1920. That will be the first Hitler kick point reference I think we've had.
I'm sure it is, you know.
It's dangerous, isn't it?
Another one.
At Be Cool at Golf. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as graphite shafts in putters, I love the Odyssey Stroke Lab graphite with a steel tip that they came out with a few years back. Kind of the best of both worlds. On another note, Joe, when are you going to start rating and roasting fans' golf bags again? Well, on that, we are so back.
We are back.
Joe found an absolute ripper down at Saunton. No, we're not going to play it now.
No, I'll just check how it's doing.
You're obsessed with and that's good. And view numbers are important for our various smart goals, and I'm happy for you. But we're back. Joe saw what brought it back was an especially egregious bag, which I'll send you over to our TikTok and Instagram.
Currently sitting on 101,367
He's acting like it's the first video ever to have 100,000 views.
Viral, mate.
Viral. Bro's gone viral. Yeah, go see a doctor. But we're back. So if you've got an especially egregious bag of your own or of a friend, this was someone you were playing with the other week?
No, bumped into him coming off the chipping green at Saunton one day, demanded to take a picture of his bag that was a 14 club Titleist deal with Titleist stickers all over the bag,
Titleist umbrella,
Titleist towel. I think he was wearing Titleist underpants at the time. Got into his car that had a Titleist number plate and drove home to Titleist Towers.
Just his tit.
Yeah. Just fine, funny. And like, there's been a lot of people in the comments going, "Oh, this is ridiculous. You're just bullying this guy for his bag. You're just blah, blah, blah." It's like, that's the bit. And
but we're all in on it.
And he was in the comments and he thinks it's funny.
And,
so
he's been sent some probey ones.
Hasn't he just? Yeah, sorted that out for him.
So yes, keep sending them in. They are back. Go follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You'll see Joe's rants in there. But on the graphite putter shaft thing, yeah, Stroke Lab, best of both worlds. Have you tried so is that steel in the tip to have a bit of, I don't know what's going on there. Stroke Lab's an
interesting concept, and they're
still going on, eh?
Yeah. No, they sort of had a moment where it was kind of that black graphite bit and then a bit of steel in the tip. Then they changed it to red when that changed. Now the Stroke Labs I see now are more of a single material.
You're looking over there because you got.
I've got.
Do you want to go get it?
Well, I can't be bothered. It's miles away, and I'd have to
Johnny,
get up, and you keep getting
get that
told
long
off.
putter.
Look at him scurrying. Look at the pace on it. Thank you, sir. So I've got I've actually got a broomstick here. But this is a Stroke Lab 200. This is a 200 gram shaft.
It's the heaviest thing on planet Earth. I mean, 45 inches.
I could do some bicep curls with this thing. But I think I've seen Stroke Labs anything from 90, 100, 140s, 200. So some good options in there. I will say, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Changing shafts in a putter is one of the easiest ways to manipulate feel. We've probably spoken about my toe up number 9 for more often than we possibly should have done.
In the records, plenty.
On the records, yeah. And I've had that very stiff steel KBS shaft in it. Feels rock hard. Don't get any feedback. It's not pleasant to strike, but it works. Popped in an LA Golf P Series 135, I think, the other day. Same weight. It's like a new putter. Feels completely different. The head's completely soft because, as I've said before, that shaft is a vessel that transmits the impact feel up there and into your hands, and it's so key to get right.
Something you can try around with at home if you're a bit bored of your putter feel. Doesn't seem like a too expensive job. Okay, a couple of questions then that came in on email. And go on.
Just thinking, the sausage boys could probably get into that. They could a very easy way to help that customization process for sausage golf, because you just need a shaft with a little. Oh
my gosh, yeah,
the little rectangle on the end, and then you
sell them separately.
Easy way to shaft upgrade there.
Message Dave or
Dave.
find Connor.
You all right, Dave?
All right, Dave. Hiya. Andy Hater's been in touch on email. I think it's his surname and not a sort of description of him as a bloke. Hello, just a quick query on bonded versus adjustable fairway woods. Is it the same diameter tip shaft? That's not a sentence. Is it the same diameter? Is the tip the same diameter? Is the question. But terribly worded. Can we spell check emails, please, guys? I should have read this before we came on air. If I have a 5-wood shaft with an adapter fitted, if I pulled the adapter, is the shaft the correct length to reuse in a bonded head? Basically, I picked up a quote-unquote ladies bonded QI10 5-wood 19 degree, cheaper than the equivalent men's, which I'd like to loft up a degree anyway. And I already have a 5-wood shaft I like. Just want to make sure I'm not walking into a schoolboy tinkerer error. Keep up the good work, Andy Hater. What's going on there, Joe? What's the answer?
Tip diameters will be the same, pretty much as standard across the board. Any wood shaft will be a 0.335 tip diameter with a 6-inch parallel section. That should be across the board. So yeah, your tip diameter is going to be absolutely the same. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I've not really considered before, would the length be the exact same? So, as you know, when you go into like a 3-wood head for a bonded hosel or whatever, even an iron, you'll push that iron down and the tip will reach a point where it's solid at the bottom. There's a place where it sits. Now, I'm assuming what most manufacturers would do, because when you do that with an adapter, you do the same thing, and the adapter will go on until it hits a solid bit where you can't go through anymore. But then whether the distance between the end of the bonded hosel section and the sole is the same between where you hit the end of the adapter and then where the screw end goes in, it'll be very similar, I would imagine, and if not identical, and probably something I've just never considered that actually as a thing, but I would imagine, if not exactly the same, we're talking
mils,
yeah, from memory.
But a clever way nonetheless. I think basically, Andy, you're not walking into a tinkerer error, and a clever way of finding a QI10 a little cheaper for whatever. You know what I think is ridiculous? I don't want to speak on women's behalf here.
Go on.
Ladies clubs that are that are still. I don't mind that there's the GLE4 series, and I think what was TaylorMade's called? Kalia Gold. Yeah. I don't mind that because then the whole thing's holistically built around a lighter shaft, lighter head, blah, blah, blah. It's the idea of a ladies QI10 or a ladies thing that QI10, QI4D, Quantum, anyone can use them. Why the women's things? It's absurd and annoying, and the industry needs to get rid of that. It's become too careful around it, I think.
Chat to Hannah Holden of Hannah Holden golf fame about that. I remember being on a press trip with Hannah to TaylorMade when she's being shown the Kalia range, and she's a really good player, Hannah. She's +2 golfer, equipment tester herself, and started
debate.
Quite an aggressive,
good,
like she
good
had.
Hannah.
It was Michelle from TaylorMade, who is a lovely lady. She does a lot of the engineering, really clever, really good at her job. And she was up for interviews, and we were sort of like taking it in turns. And Hannah's just sort of sat down, smiled, give it a little handshake, and started opening
Paxman.
gambit was, do you not think this range is very patronising to women with these pastel colours and blah, blah, blah? And I was like, oh, Hannah, go on, son.
Yeah.
And
Son.
And she, was that patronising? Go on, girl.
Maybe that's patronising. See, I don't know anymore, Joe.
who knows?
Panicking.
I'm
panicking.
Yeah, went in like 2-footed on
Good,
her.
but I'm in complete agreement with that.
But even Hannah afterwards admitted that like she's coming from a niche position where she's a good player and performance is absolute key for her. But she acknowledged that even at her golf club there'd be many in the demographic of women members that aren't about optimal performance, and it's so difficult to say these things, isn't it, without thinking you're going to get cancelled and say the wrong thing. But she felt there was plenty of women of a different mindset where they're playing golf to wear nice coordinated outfits and have their bag look really nice and well put together and with colours that they like that match this and match that. And it's more of a showpiece. And you know, if there's obviously the design tech in there that there is in Kalia Gold, that there is in the GL ranges from Ping, that are lighter, easier to launch, softer flexes, if they've wrapped it up in a pastel package, so be it. But she felt, you know, I think where she netted out was, well, I'm not doing that. I'm a good player. I want to use the men's heads. If I'm not as strong, I'll use a slightly lighter shaft. But that's where
it's still the core head.
That's where I'm
standard
getting.
head. Yeah.
But I think she also acknowledged that there was enough people, there was enough of the demographic that wanted that kind of lifestyle.
There's a market for it. If you're a beginner lady golfer, you probably don't, you know, that you'd lean toward that.
What's
you don't
like in other
equipment.
sports? Like, do they have like women's rackets in tennis? Do they have?
Oh, that's a good question. That would just be a slightly lighter racket.
Women's darts, women's snooker cues, women's cricket bats.
I don't think they're women's. I think they're just
women's football.
They're
boots.
just spec'd to be lighter and
so
for
are we the
women.
only sport that's really doing that?
I don't. Let's do some research on that.
Okay.
I can't tell what else we got. Women's football.
No, I can't think of it. Women's rugby. It's not like you get
different ball. An air ball for them. No, play with a normal ball and get on with it. Good stuff. Right, next up, Craig Medhurst. Hi, Dan and Joe. Love the show. I didn't realise there was anyone else who had the same level of obsession with golf gear as I do. I didn't think I realised either, Craig, until I met Joe. Maybe I'm still not all bought in. I don't know yet. After Dan's concept of using blades to improve ball striking, brackets, and I've always wanted to play a blade, I ended up buying myself a set of 5 to 9 iron Callaway Apex MB 21s in S300 Dynamic Gold mid 115 shafts. My thought was to use it on the range and even for an evening 9 holes, only to work on my ball striking. I'm a 14.9 handicap, which I know you hate, Joe. That means 15.
Yeah.
Just
tell the truth,
Joe's
mate.
such a hater.
Andrew hater.
He's such an Andrew hater. I'm a 14.9 handicap currently, but ball striking is a strong part of my game. Bracket short game is woeful, and I'm trying to get to single figures this year. The issue I have is I've fallen in love with.
Will he say he's a single figure handicapper when he gets to 9.9?
Yes.
Well, he's off 10.
No, that's single figure. I'm not having this conversation again. The issue is I've fallen in love with these blades, the feel, the feedback, the looks at address, and the bag appeal. Now, whenever I pick up my P770 2017 model, they look like shovels, and I'm worried I'm now going to be. I didn't read it. I'm worried I'm now going to be the mid-handicapper that plays with blades. Yes, potentially. Do you think it's a good idea to just go ahead and game these full time, but add in a 4 and maybe 5 iron that's got a bit more forgiveness as a combo set, and fully embrace the blades? Thanks from Craig. And I know we've addressed this before, Joe. Thanks, by the way, Craig. It's a good debate to have. Oh, I don't know where. It sounds like he's a bit of a ball striker.
Come on, you go first.
I can't do it. Because I'm not a good enough ball striker, and I'm working my way up the forgiveness levels as time goes on now. I got all the way down to a set of T100s.
But you were eyeing up those G740s there.
Well, I'm more. It's quite attractive. I couldn't do it. I liked gaming it at the range. I got that I-59 with a training grip on. That is a really good idea. Could never do it on the course. But I net out on the side of enjoy golf for what it is. And Craig sounds like he just loves looking at them.
Yeah.
He likes the feel when he does find the middle. And he's having a good time doing it. Are you going to get to your single figures as quickly using these over your P770s? I'm going to say no. I think your front back dispersion is going to really suffer with something that's a little less forgiving. I've not seen you hit the ball. But are you having as much fun?
Where are you getting that information from? Why do you think that?
Because I've had it. I've gone into my T100s, excuse me, from my I230s. I was missing greens 20 yards short if I missed, because I miss it low, I'm a picker.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that my front back dispersion was terrible. I lost all my confidence. I can still get round, but I get round better with I230s. That when I do hit it low, it's a bit more pop and I'm a bit closer.
Still get round. That's dramatic, isn't it? like you'd leave one 15 yards short of the green and just have to walk in. Not having this. I'm going in.
I've had enough. So I think I net out on enjoy life before we all end up dead. And if that gives you enjoyment, go ahead. I don't think you're going to get to single figures as quickly.
I'm not sure I agree. I honestly, contrary to what you've just said there, I think personally one of the biggest misconceptions in the game is that blades are so much more difficult to hit. Like just this untouchable thing that you just like, oh, they're reserved for the elite of the elite. And I just think it's been massively dramatized. And I'm going to probably do this actually, because I think that's a good idea for a video. Get in a 20 plus handicap player and let's stick them on launch monitor with whatever, a Mizuno, the Pro S1 versus
shafted up correctly for them.
Yeah, we'll spec them out exactly the same, and then
this is a good idea.
We'll just go and we'll actually see. Okay, so let's see how much more difficult this actually is, and we'll alternate. And we'll see what the left to right is. We'll see what the front to back is. Inevitably, it'll be shorter because pretty much all of the blades are lofted more traditionally. So you're going to be like 34, 33 in a 7-iron versus 28, for example, in that G740. But if we look at I think if we take the measurements and see what the percentage loss from front to back is on the worst strikes, I'd be fascinated to see how that is. But yeah, hypothesis of mine is that it's not as dramatic as people think, and it's become this sort of lauded territory. Let's
test this. I'd be really interested. I'm sure it would be, yes, shorter, but then the front back would be bigger. We'll find out.
Interesting. But then
it's good debate.
Also, would your left to right be tighter equivalent club, because you're going to be generating more spin from the more loft, so spin being your friend in maybe mitigating sort of left mitigate. Oh dear, that was close, wasn't it?
You've already said that word once today.
So it'd be fascinating just to do that objectively. Watch someone do that for an hour, back and forth, alternate. Yeah,
it's a video idea, man.
Just have a look and see what it is.
We gave 20 handicapper blades.
He cried,
but loved them.
Yeah,
I can see the headline now. It rolls off the tongue.
He cried. Were they happy tears or sad tears?
All of them.
So
yeah.
But then we get back to the sort of my game improver versus shot improver debate. So if he's trying to get down to single figures, right?
He's a type of short game by the sound of it.
It does sound like that's where he's identified that, and that's good. But like, if there is such a premium on ball striking with blades, which people suggest there is he not going to get better? Like he says, practicing with these blades, is his strike not going to, if it's such a more demanding club, is that not going to kind of organically improve his strike? Because the precision is required to do that, rather than practicing with a more whopper bat style. Not that P770 is, but there's a lot more tech and forgiveness built in there. And as I've said to you before, is that actually improving your game, or is it just improving your shot? Are you putting the same garbage golf swing on it that you've had for years, but your shots are a bit better because it's more forgiving, allegedly, and there's more of a power boost? If you're looking to improve in any sport, in my opinion, and at any level, the idea is, in my experience, is making your practice and making things as difficult as possible, taking on things that are harder. Like, you don't get stronger by lifting lighter weights, do you? You get stronger by getting to a weight, getting comfortable with 10 reps of that, then pushing yourself to more weight. And that's how your muscles get used to that. Well, do we not think the same could work in golf clubs, where if you want to improve your ball striking, you essentially, if you go into blades, you might be adding another 10 kilograms to your plate. Maybe that's the way forward there. And you're actually improving your game. You might not be improving your shots. Remain to be seen, because we haven't done this test.
Well, let's do this test. A bit sounds here, really good. Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like, for me,
so
I love
tell
the
Craig,
concept.
whack him in.
Go for it, yeah. And like, who cares if you are that bell end, as you said, that's got blades? Do you? If remember the story about the guy at Precision Golf who wanted Miura blades, and he was like at 18, and he's like, I just don't care about my score. I just want to have a great time.
He fell in love with them, for goodness sake. He's fully in.
And is that not why we're playing golf?
Is that not why we exist? To love, to feel, to yearn. Well, Craig, that spawned a video idea, so thank you. Literally just now.
Cheers, Craig.
And let us know what you opt for. I bet he's a ball striker. I genuinely bet he's got 38 putts around and chips loads. So he's got the short game of a 25-30 and a ball striking ability of a 6-7-8.
So nets out somewhere in the middle.
Let us know what you do, Craig. Thank you for that. Last one before the interview, Joe. James R. Bartholomew Jr.
Of course.
Munro Bartley Miller, you're in second, mush. He's a junior, for goodness sake. Generational wealth. Greetings, gentlemen. Really enjoy your content and stumbled across you guys some time ago on YouTube and have really valued your insights and what's in the bags. Thank you, James. My question is, with cost aside...
Of course, with cost aside, James R. Bartholomew Jr. Cost not being an issue.
Should I send my butler to American Golf? Find me. With cost aside, what are your thoughts on running a 2-driver setup over the course of a year? My plan is to have a safety driver for that fairway finder when you're not swinging it well or working on your swing, then have the ceiling driver for when the game is feeling good and you want to take advantage. I like his turn of phrase. For when the game is feeling good and you want to take advantage. Mind you, I would not carry both on course, but more bring the one that fits me at that time. Thoughts? Love this. I think I semi-do this at the minute, because I went to play Leatherhead the other day, having played Royal Fulford, and spaffing my driver around so badly that I was embarrassed to show my face in public. So I put the driver away and put my mini driver in for Leatherhead, which was effectively me thinking, this could be my fairway finder. It wasn't, but the point still stands. And then when you're feeling good about yourself, you've got one in the garage, frothing at the mouth, foaming at the mouth, chained up, ready to go for when you're feeling it. Cost aside, I love the play.
It's not a new concept, though, is it? So it's not like you've. Sorry, James, but you've not.
I'm not saying it is.
You've not stumbled across something here.
He's not saying he is.
Well, it's just something we've covered before as well. Remember Mickelson at the PGA?
No, but he carried both, right?
Yeah, okay.
We're saying like having
we've
one.
also covered it in the sense of, do you remember? I guess in a not dissimilar way. Remember Adam Schenk? I told you about that. When he was talking about, I've got 2 drivers for not necessarily when you're feeling good or bad. Temperature, yeah. Clothing, like when he's at Pebble Beach with 3 layers on because he's freezing cold and the ball's not flying and he can only swing his driver at 117 miles an hour. Well, the shaft and the setup of that isn't going to work as well as when he's in a T-shirt. And he reckoned he was like 6 miles an hour quicker in clubhead speed in Phoenix.
And you need a completely different setup for that.
And he needs a completely different setup. So I get that whole having a squad of drivers thing. I ran that by Kellen, actually, our man Kellen Watson from Callaway. And he knows Adam Schenk and has dealt with him. He's like, I get it. Overthinking for me.
Really?
That's what Kellen thought. But I guess inadvertently, I've got this setup. So like I'm QI4D this year. And I'm swinging it nicely. I've been driving it really well, actually. And it's been working really well for me. But I can envisage a point when things go a little bit wonky on the old golf swing and you need a bit more assistance. And the sort of my safety net step in there is my G440K. Because it's just a little bit more MOI. So yeah, not a new concept, but a concept that I'd be a big advocate of. Like you said, if the cost isn't an issue, you know, there's optimal things in every area of the game for this. Like, for example, the drive one you're talking about there, would you want a couple of different options in fairway wood when you're going to play a links course where you want your man Mick Field's bunter to run along the floor, or you go and play the Oxfordshire with a lot of forced carries? You want something more lofted and floaty in the fairway wood. There's 2 options for you there.
Love it.
Do you want a money aside, do you want 2 sets of irons that if you're going to go and play Saunton in August and it's rock hard like the M42 and you can't get under the ball, and you want something with really narrow soles and low bounce to help you get under the ball a little bit more and not hit your drop kicks? Is that a good option to change bounce there? But then when you're playing at Royal Fulford and it's been a monsoon and it's swamping up, something with a wider sole and a bit more bounce, great. If you go same with wedges, different wedge grinds and bounces, people change for the British Open.
Excuse me.
The Open Championship.
My God, everybody boo Joe. Everybody boo Joe. Boo. Thank you, Johnny.
Everybody. Yes.
That's awful from what
That's
like the Americans saying double eagle.
It is, yeah, or green complexes.
I don't mind that.
I hate it.
It's what you're saying is, money aside, we'd all have horses for courses sets lying around.
But also be careful because there's paralysis by analysis. There's overcomplicating these things. Look at Rory, look at Tiger, look at Scotty Scheffler, look at the best of the best.
They're better than us, though.
They are better than us, but then, you'd think that might be then would require more intricate changes of equipment. They just learn what they've got and are not necessarily changing bounces, changing shafts for safety. Now, I don't know. I'm on the fence on it, but if it works for you, great. And if that gives you the confidence that, okay, I'm not quite swinging at my best here, that's my safety net driver, a bit more MOI, a little maybe shorter in shaft. Great. Have a little squad,
Well, Mr. Bartholomew Jr., let us know what you do. Keep us in the loop. I like the idea. Good debate to have, though, isn't it?
And lend us a tenner, please.
Lend us a tenner, please. Right, keep those coming in, folks. Kickpoint Podcast at futurenet.com or YouTube or Instagram DM where you can find Joe's bag roasts. Keep sending those in as well. Right, Joe, set up Andrew Huang for us, tour rep at Fujikura. You had a little chat with him about all things shaft and all the things that are still mystery to you and a mystery to us. Hopefully we get to the bottom of them today.
Yeah, just reached out because I'm doing that thing where I look over there. There's no camera.
Yeah, but I wasn't allowed to mention that earlier. But
yeah, you got to go at me about that. And I'm doing
I don't go at you. I just said that's what you do, and I've not got a problem with it.
Felt like
though I would like to be. When we sat here for 8 hours, I'd like to be acknowledged once.
Who said that?
Who
said that?
This little voice in your.
Yep,
just past the interview. I'm angry now.
Well, no, Andrew. So I reached out to Fujikura. Fujikura have been a great partner of the show.
Yes, we love Fuji,
and I love the Ventus lineup. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I just lots of questions come up in my head. And I know what I think of certain things to do.
So not about golf, but most
certain things to do with shafts and torque and tipping and whatever else. And I know where I stand on it, but I'm just curious to see when you meet people, people are in a position where they're doing that stuff more often than you and have access to better technology, to run your thoughts by them and see where they net out because they've got more authority. So I've done that. Hopefully you'll get some good information from it too. So without further ado, Andrew Huang.
Over to you.
Special guest today. We are going to get into the weeds on shafts with Fujikura Tour representative Andrew Huang. Thanks for joining us, Andrew.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. You ready for a geek out?
I'm ready to do it. Let's do it.
Right, I'm going to ask you some stuff we talk about on the podcast all the time. So I've been banging the drum for a while. I'm like a preacher on the hill that no one listens to about. I sort of anticipate all these things that are going to happen and tell people these things are going to happen. And I need some backing up or I need some shutting up if I'm wrong. But I've been talking about steel in shaft manufacturing, potentially getting towards the end of its shelf life, right? We saw it in driver. People were, Tiger, I think, was one of the last people hanging on to a steel shafted driver, and then people began to see the benefits of graphite there. We're seeing it more and more in irons. A lot of even high-speed players are going into graphite. My take on it is that the shaft walls are so much thicker, there's more material to play with, and you can get more precise. Do you agree with me that steel might be coming to the end of its shelf life? What's your take on that waffle that I've just given you there?
Yeah, I agree. I think the reason why we still see steel is more of a familiarity standpoint and more, I think even as a kid in junior golf for me growing up, I'm thinking, I've made it. I'm an adult when I play X1, right? That's what all the guys on tour are playing. That's what my heroes, Tiger, all these players play X1, X1, X1. And so you're like, I finally made it to a stiff flex. It's 134 grams. I'm an adult now. And so you grow up playing steel your entire life, and it's kind of just this mental standpoint of, I'm used to it. But I do think that composite material and graphite shafts are going to start to completely take over the bag, and that steel is kind of towards the end of its shelf life, like you said. Um, what we're seeing that we're able to do with composite materials is just there's just so much more flexibility. You can really stretch that rubber band of material a lot farther. We talk about it a lot. That steel is what we call an isotropic material, meaning when you change one aspect of it, another aspect of it has to change as well. And those two different attributes cannot move independently from one another. And so, in terms of shafts and iron shafts, like we've talked about with Axiom, um, we can make Axiom extremely low weight and extremely stiff. We don't have to have those two, moving together, right? With steel, as it gets heavier, it's gonna get stiffer. And so it becomes extremely difficult to make something that's very lightweight and very stable and stiff. And it's not really possible. There's only so much stepping, and thinning of walls that you can really do. And with composite and graphite, we can really, like I said, stretch that rubber band really thin. We can make something really heavy and really soft if we really wanted. Um, and so we've seen in Enzo testing that there's just a lot of different things that we can do with the materials. I think on our wall, we have a 30-gram raw shaft, iron shaft. Um, and it held up. Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the office that were thinking like, oh man, this thing's probably going to explode when we hit it, but it held up totally fine. And so there's a lot of flexibility that we can do. Um, and you've seen it like, Tiger still had steel in his drivers, one of the last holdouts. And there's maybe one guy I think I can think of on tour that has an X1 in a hybrid, but he's the only one holdout. Um, but I think you're just going to start seeing it, even into the utility irons now. There's a lot of players using graphite or composite and steel material shafts in their driving irons.
Yeah, I think one of my takes on it, and I could be, maybe I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, is that the major manufacturers, the major OEMs, if the message got out there that what I'm trying to sort of push, and that a lot of people are sort of getting on board with now, and all of the stock options for irons then all of a sudden had to become graphite. Composite materials, carbon, etc., are generally more expensive materials. So would there be a margin hit for these major manufacturers? So is there a kind of a major OEM conspiracy to just go, no, just make sure we're pushing the benefits of steel to make sure that's a thing. I won't make you comment on that because you'll probably get in trouble. But that's one of my theories. But a great answer to the question. Next bit I wanted to talk to you about is tipping, if that's all right, because we get a load of questions. We get a lot of correspondence on the podcast about, if I tip this shaft, what's going to happen? I've whatever. There's a lot of stuff. It's kind of a mythical, misunderstood area of the game. And I guess my question would be is, could you give us a little overview of essentially what it is and what it does to a shaft? And when you've done that, I'll ask you another question. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So tipping is when we take a shaft and we're gonna actually just chop off the tip section of it. And what it causes it to do is it'll play usually a little bit stiffer depending on how much you tip it, right? And so out on tour, the standard driver is tipped 1 inch. So we'll take the raw shaft, we'll mark 1 inch, and then we'll just cut it off. It'll play a little bit stiffer, and then we'll work from there. The reason we do tipping, at least here at Fujikura, what we believe is we're trying to either knock off some spin, um, get in between flexes, or for me, a lot of the reasons we're tipping these days is with these fairway woods, and now we're getting to these high lofted fairway woods, we're trying to reduce shaft droop, right? And so, say you play a 6X in your driver and a 6X in your 3 wood. Um, when you tip the driver 1 inch, I'm going to recommend maybe an extra 1/2 inch in the 3 wood, because the 3 wood head is heavier than the driver shaft or the driver head. And so because it's heavier, it's going to droop differently than the driver. And so to match that, we're tipping it more. So it's going to, in terms of dynamics, still deliver a similar way, and give you kind of a similar feel and launch and impact that you're kind of used to with the driver. And so that's kind of what we utilize tipping for.
So I guess my next question would be then, it seems to be one of those sort of anecdotal things where, like you've chucked around the phrase reduce a spin. Has it ever been quantified? Have you guys ever got on the robot and Enzo machines and gone, right, let's have a look what 6x tipped half an inch, what does that do to spin? What does that do to shaft droop? An inch, an inch and a half. Like, has it ever been quantified in terms of whether that's the spin readings you get, whether that's the adjusted torque profile, or whether that's adjusted CPM? Have you actually ever quantified that stuff? Because I hear about, I've spent a bit of time on tour bands, and players come in and we'll set a fitting might be, yeah, and we'll tip it an inch. And it's kind of like an educated guess, I
Yeah.
suppose. But has it ever been quantified, I guess, is my main question.
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, for us, we've talked about it a lot of like, oh, maybe we should get it on a robot. But then we're realizing, no player really does swing it like a robot. We've got Marshall Thompson is probably the closest we've got here in our office. But uh, every swing ends up being different. And so the way we look at it is we look at impact location on the face. And so we'll have a player hit and get an average of shots between two tippings. And then we kind of figure out, did that shift our impact location? And is that giving us the spin that we want, the impact location that we want, and the launch that we want? And so,
Just to interrupt
yes,
from an
yep,
location point of view, so would you, generally speaking, I guess you'd suggest an untipped shaft, because there may be a little bit more shaft droop at impact, would you expect to see a higher impact location on an untipped shaft than you would a tipped shaft, right?
correct. And so
Cool.
sometimes some players will think, oh, I've got a Ventus Black 7X that's tipped an inch, and I'm spinning it 3,300, 3,400 every single time, and I don't know why. And then I throw them in a red, and they're like, oh, whoa, this is supposed to be your higher spinning option. What's going on? And it's untipped. Like, I should spin this to the moon. I'm like, well, actually, if we're looking at your impact locations with your Black 7X tipped an inch, they're all low on the face, and it's causing it to spin a lot. Let's give this a try. And almost every time they're hitting it a little bit higher in the face, closer to the center, and that's going to kill their spin. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we've kind of worked with.
No, that makes perfect sense. But that's still something I'd love to see. I mean, I know you're saying there's a level of ambiguity to it, and people don't swing like robots. We categorize shafts in high launch, mid spin, whatever, when that doesn't always work that way for humans out there, as you've just said. So I still think, personally, I still think there's room to try and quantify it anyway. But that's for
Yeah,
another.
no, I think it's definitely worth doing.
Let's get into your sort of role then as a tour rep. So you're out on PGA Tour. What does that look like for you? Are you directly involved in? Are you kind of doing shaft fittings for players, or is your role more to service the Adrian Reitvelds, the guys on the vans, making sure they've got enough product and making sure they understand the ins and outs of that product? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's both and. Depending on the fitter and the player, someone like Adrian that is very hands-on with his players and has a very great understanding of shafts. I just make sure he's got what he needs and he's going to work with his players. Sometimes there's other players that maybe are non-contracted and they don't have a staff person that's directly working with them. That's where we'll kind of jump in, or we have a personal relationship with a lot of those players, or even players that I've worked with in the junior days or Corn Ferry Tour, and I've kind of seen them graduate. I've kind of helped them out here and there, and there's so many players on the range these days, and there's only so many tour reps. So anytime we can help the manufacturers too, and say, hey, this person is looking for this, they wanted to take a look at mini driver or something and knock off 100 RPMs a spin or something, then we'll kind of go together and work together. And so it's a bit of both and.
So you just led me to another question there. Mini drive is an interesting one. So just out on tour, what do you see in terms of, because I've seen people kind of just taking their 3-wood shaft and going and chucking that straight in, because it tends to work as a length. But then I've equally seen, I'm pretty sure Fleetwood is a 6X in driver and 6X in mini, so it's kind of a more of the driver weight and profile.
Yep.
What's the split out there? Are people treating it shaft wise more like a 3-wood or more like a driver?
It's a pretty 50-50 split, I'd say. Um, I probably see a lot more players, um, they'll match up probably the similar profile that they're using in their driver. But it's pretty split in terms of weight, going from either like a 60 gram, or there's some players that will go all the way up to 90 grams. And I think it depends on the playing length too. Some players want like an extremely short mini driver just so they can hit it a certain distance off the tee. And a lot of those guys are usually guys that are, in the high 180 ball speeds. And they're really not utilizing a 3-wood until they get to maybe a US Open or something like that. And it's more of a tee shot ball. And it's very rare that they're really hitting it off the deck.
Cool, that makes sense. Let's get into I told this to be geeky. Let's get into torque. So talk is something that it's something I've neglected, truth be told, over time. And I want to get a slightly better understanding of it. Even when I was fitting, it was kind of one of the lower parameters of shaft that I would think about. But I've spoken to a lot of people since who kind of value that quite highly. So torque, for those listening, obviously will be the I guess the torsional force that's put on the shaft, what it does under pressure, how much it twists. So would it I guess the conventional wisdom is that a high torque shaft that I've heard would be it's going to increase closure rate through the ball and maybe benefit slicers, maybe benefit those players that lose the ball off to the right for a right-hander and allow them just a little bit of extra help in closing the club face down. Is that kind of like, I guess, is that exclusively true, or is there certain acceleration profiles or players that you'd kind of have the opposite effect, whereby the torque will be working backwards and opening the face through impact? Is that something you see?
Yeah, I've definitely seen both. I've seen players that, they're, like you said, losing the ball to the right. You give them something with more torque, it tends to close for them. But I've also seen a lot of players as well, if they have something with the ultra high torque, especially in the tip section, it'll kind of tend to stay behind them and the face stays open at impact, and it changes the start line. So it kind of depends per player. And I think you can kind of get a sense, um, at least what we do here at Fujikura is we have in our Enzo testing, we have this whole gauntlet of shafts on this back wall behind our cameras, and they're these crazy designs that you'd never really see out in the wild. It's really really high torque stuff or really extremely low torque stuff. And what we're doing is we're creating kind of like a bookshelf of database, and just bookending it. And so when you create one side of the spectrum and the other side of the spectrum, you test and get all this data, and using data analytics, and our engineers will look at it, they can kind of understand what torque does, at least for that design and maybe that player. Um, and so it's really hard to say that exclusively high torque will shut the face. I think it's very very player dependent. But as a fitter, I think it's key to understand what torque does for that specific person.
And leading on to that, I guess another sort of dimension of what the shaft does through impact here. Talking about kind of lead deflection. So I had a chat with Tom McKibben out in Singapore at a live event, and I think he'd just gone from a Ventus Black into a TR Red profile, which is quite a leap. And what he said to me, he found he was actually launching and spinning the TR Red profile lower than he was the black profile. Now I wonder whether, bearing in mind your discussion beforehand about strike location, I'm wondering whether that might have had some effect on the spin that he was talking about. But I'm guessing if it was higher in the face, that wouldn't account for the launch that he was referring to. So what I'm kind of getting at in a long-winded way is we talk about lead deflection as essentially, I guess, what's the best way of describing that? The club head overtaking the shaft through impact and adding loft. That would be lead deflection, right? So softer tip shafts like your, say, Ventus Red would in theory be adding loft and help people with that launch and spin. Is there, in the same way we've just spoken about torque, do you see those players like I've just mentioned with Tom McKibben where the shaft will almost lag behind and present less dynamic loft than it does on the robot? And is that technically accurate, or will a club always be in lead deflection?
I think a club will always be in lead deflection towards impact. We've actually seen instances on Enzo where a shaft. We've had an extremely high speed player that deflected the shaft 5 inches uh, at its maximum. And so what we saw actually at impact, that the shaft had gone all the way to its maximum lead deflection and was starting to come backwards. So he was losing energy, but it was still leading into impact, right? But it was actually going backwards. And so yes, there are instances where I think it will present less loft, but I think a shaft will always be in lead deflection at impact.
Okay, so yeah, I guess what he was seeing there was probably what you alluded to earlier in the chat around a lower spin profile, potentially just changing that strike location. I guess that's
Yeah.
probably what was coming from.
Yeah, and sometimes you get a player too, and you can look at their swing dynamics as well. You look at their angle of attack and their plane. Some players will naturally feel something as stiff as Ventus Black and go like, "Oh shoot, I need to really get this up in the air." And they won't really think about it, but subconsciously they get into their downswing and they're doing this, and all of a sudden Ventus Black is launching higher, and they're like, "Oh, I thought this was supposed to be the low launch, low spin profile." I'm like, "Well, your angle of attack just jumped, 3 degrees." And so again, it's very important for the player and the fitter to see what the player is doing with their swing and how it's reacting with the shaft.
So do you believe in the concept of, would you be able to kind of eye up a player on the range and look at the swing dynamics, look at the tempo, look at just by eye and think you look like a good candidate for whatever profile? I guess what I'm saying is, do you believe there's an optimal profile for certain swings, or do you more prescribe to the theory that it depends what that person's looking for? I've heard people say, like, you can't go into a hairdresser's and say, "Hi, I'd like the best haircut, please," because it depends on what you like and what image or whatever you're trying to do with your hair, I suppose. Do you think there's an optimal shaft profile out there for players, individual players, or is it more of the, well, it depends what you want. If you want to hit it head height, this is your profile. If you want to do this, where do you sit on that?
I think you can get both. There's sometimes where I'll see a player and maybe see that they're struggling, and then I go up and talk to them, and then we kind of figure out what their goals are. And then based off of what their goals are and me kind of just judging their swing and seeing it, I'm thinking like, oh, this might be a perfect fit. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's completely not even close. But it's for the most part, I think it's both. You can kind of have an idea based off of how a player loads the shaft, what their kind of profile is going to be. But if that kind of doesn't match up what they're looking for, launch and spin wise and window wise, there's a lot of levers that you can pull, even with the golf head or the club head, right? To be able to manipulate those things, maybe even ball flight with CG of the head. There's so many ways to, I think, fit a player now that you can get both.
I think sometimes that's where people get confused, isn't they, with all the levers to pull on, like you've just spoken about. And I guess you've got to understand all of that even as just the shaft guy, that head weight changes in, that's going to affect how the shaft that you've decided is going to work. That's going to affect how that loads. So there's an awful lot to think about for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's we're really investing into learning more. And so we've just moved into this new building, and we're installing new Enzo cameras as we speak right now, actually. And so our Enzo bay's down, and we put force plates in as well. And so with that tied to, we're backdooring that data into a launch monitor and the cameras. So we're gonna have all three systems talking to each other, and we're just trying to constantly learn, and just say, all right, anything we know could be out the window. We just want to figure out, exactly what a shaft does at any moment in the swing, and marry that with ball flight and potentially how a player loads into the ground as well. And so we're really excited. I think there's a lot for us to still learn about, but I feel like we've had a pretty good blueprint so far.
My last one for you then, before I let you go, because you've been very generous with your time. TaylorMade. So I went to a TaylorMade product launch, and there's a big fitting story this year around their React shafts that they're kind of breaking it down and categorizing players into high, mid, and low rotation based on, not exclusively, but based on realistically where their lead arm and the club shaft start to match up in the golf swing. it's probably, I mean, for someone like you who gets in the depth that you do, it's probably maybe a little underbaked, or for want of a better phrase. But do you think that's a good starting point to get people in the ballpark of a profile that's going to suit?
Yeah, I think it's a great starting point. Like you said, it's a great starting point. If someone, they walk into a big box store and they're not ready to spend $350 on an aftermarket shaft. And I think they're really, stressing the importance that it is a fitting story. That's why there's 3 different options for a person. And you can immediately find something that's better than a one size fits all shaft that really might not fit you and then affect the performance of the driver head. And so I think it's a great idea, and it's really stressing that there's more options than just the driver head, and we want to maximize the performance of the driver head by marrying a shaft that works for you. And I get it. The Ventus is $350, and even our Pro line isn't cheap either, and Vista Pro it certainly isn't cheap as well. And so it's definitely an investment. And so I'd understand if someone wants to walk in and get something right off the rack, and the driver heads are already, $600-700 these days. And they just want to walk out and immediately be able to play with something that fits a little bit closer to what they should be playing.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you very much for your time. That was fascinating. Everybody, that's Andrew Huang.
Good stuff. Well, consider me more learned. I haven't watched it yet. Sorry, everybody. But hopefully you are, because you've just sat and listened and watched it. Well done, Joe.
Thank you, mate.
You've been beavering away in your little room in Devon, interviewing all these people around the world, all these great American minds about golf equipment.
A lot of smart people have passed through my little garden room in North Devon unwittingly. And they had Ludwig Aberg in there not long ago.
Yeah, I had Harry Kane in my mate's apartment in Brighton once.
I've had Penge in there. Marco has been in there.
Ludwig. Who else have you had in there?
I've had a few in there, haven't I?
Great, good for you. Right, that's it for this week, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks as always for taking part in the show, really, commenting, emailing us, keeping this thing afloat, and allowing us to keep doing it, because if you weren't watching, we'd have stopped a long, long time ago. Next week, you're off, Joe. You're away.
Am I?
Yeah, me and Diath are doing fairways and all the bits that Diath tests that we don't really get into the nitty-gritty on.
Sweaty Sam
will be here, me and him next week, shooting the S about, what else does he test?
You going to be in here?
Yeah.
It's going to be sat right here.
He's sat right there.
Turn the heating down, he'll be sweating.
I'll get a different chair. I won't let him sit in yours.
Put a towel down.
So we chatted everything that he tests, fairways and stuff, and that will be on Masters Friday. So something to accompany you before, after, or during the golf.
Got a little twinge then, as you said that. I love Masters.
Just behind you, saw that bit there.
Yeah. I love the Masters. Early Masters I like more than the weekend at the Masters, weirdly.
Thursday, Friday.
I just love.
Or do you mean on Tuesday, Wednesday, even?
No, I hate that. I hate that sort of live from the Masters, the build up, watch so and so on the ref.
So Thursday then.
Thursday when you just
Gorgeous,
you get the intro and then you just begin to see those first shots. You're like, here we go again. It's something. There's something.
Stop it, man. We're too far away here at the minute to be really talking about it.
Yeah, cannot wait.
So that's next week, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the Masters. We'll see you Friday.